We are here at the Combine in Indianapolis, and I'm now joined by PFF's lead draft analyst, Trevor Sikkema. How would you best describe this 2025 draft class? And we're about to see these prospects coming up.
It's a deep class. Like, I know some people look at this class and say, oh, it doesn't have the star power at the top. One, I think we got some really good players in this class. I do. But the depth of this class, really, if you were picking anywhere from pick 20 to 75, you have a chance to get either a starting caliber player or a guy who's going to be a rotational player that's really going to raise the floor of your team. So when we look back at this draft class 4 or 5 years from now, I really believe that it's the teams that really nail it within that range that are going to be the ones that came away with the most impactful football player.
Well, I'm glad you say that range because Lions are picking at 28. Who's going to be best available when it comes to the Lions in that first round?
I look at that edge rush position, and it all sort of depends. There's a lot of great edge rushers that are in this class, but there's some players end of the first round, a Donovan Ezaraku, a Jack Sawyer, a JT Tuimoloau, like these players along the edge who I think could be maybe that just last missing piece. Of course, getting Aiden back and having him fully healthy, I mean, he's going to raise whatever their pass rush is going to be by himself, as we saw before his injury. But I look at that edge rush spot and I keep going to it because that's going to be a sweet spot. I think there's going to be some players, the 2 Texas A&M guys as well, now that I'm thinking of it, Nick Scorton, Shamar Stewart. If any of those guys make it to where the Lions are picking at the end of the first round, they can be plug-and-play type of players where you're getting a lot out of them, which is important because the Lions very clearly in a winning window. So you're just trying to put those last couple of pieces in there, and I think that things could really line up for them to get a good edge rusher in this class.
We've seen general manager Brad Holmes move a little bit in the draft. We've seen him stay put. We've seen him go back-to-back DBs like he did last year's draft in Detroit. What have you learned about how Brad likes to draft in Detroit?
He's going to do whatever he thinks is best. And I do love that about him because I was just saying to somebody the other day, when they were still building out this roster, taking Jahmyr Gibbs at number 12, taking Sam Laporta where they did, taking Jack Campbell where they did. I think those individual picks, you look at them and you go, man, lower premium positions, you're drafting them a little high. And I think individually you could nitpick a lot of these draft picks. And then 2 years from now, we look at it and we go, wow, this is one of the most complete, talented rosters in the NFL. So I think the important thing to take away from what Brad Holmes has done is, one, it takes time and a plan. And you have to be able to stick to that. And the Lions did, and that is why the roster is as good as it is. So, whether they end up picking exactly where they're picking now at the end of the first round, whether they trade back a little bit, whether they trade up, I know that Brad Holmes is going to get the player that he truly believes is right for the Detroit Lions. And it's really cool to have a general manager that has that kind of plan and power to be able to execute it, because as a draft guy, I love watching what Holmes has done over the last 2-3 years.
Talking about the plan, what are the intricacies you notice that Holmes implements when he's drafting?
I think everybody looks at the NFL draft and they say, well, it should be simple. Just draft the best players, right? Just draft the best players available. But, then we get into things like, okay, what are your short-term needs? What are their roster needs going into this season? You talk about, okay, well, premium positions, quarterback, pass rusher, pass protector. You go, linebacker is not really a premium position that you draft in the first round. Running back, tight end, things like that. And I think Holmes is just true to that best player available approach. And he's going to draft the best football players, and then he's going to kind of figure it out around then, whether it's in the trade market or in free agency or whatever it is. He's going to draft the players that he believes are the best on the board. Of course, not, without any context, but within the context of what the Lions want, the players that they want. And I just think that the chemistry that he has with Dan Campbell and the types of players that they want on the Detroit Lions, not in just talent or position, but how coachable they are, how coachable they will be amongst each other as a player-led type of a team in those moments where it calls for it. That, to me, is just what I have learned the most about him, and sort of how he has gone about things and how he has built the Lions as well as he has.
Let's play hypothetical, this could happen scenario.
Okay.
Does Detroit stay put at 28, or do they move up? Do they move back, get more capital? What do you see them doing?
If anything, I think they're going to move back. I do think, if I had to bet right now, I would say that they're going to stay put, because I think one of those good edge rushers is going to fall to them. And if they believe that another edge rusher, a first-round investment edge rusher, is what could take them over the top, they're going to have the ability to do that. And so I would say, if anything, I feel like they're going to move back. Even though they are in a winning window, they could certainly get aggressive. Again, just looking at the talent that is available in this draft class, there's so many guys in the trenches. And, they've got some age in the trenches as well on the offensive side of the ball that they might want to think about long term, a lot like the Philadelphia Eagles have done over the last couple of years, which has yielded a Super Bowl like we saw this past season. So I just feel as though maybe trading back and getting an extra second or third round pick to continue to invest in the trenches on both sides of the ball. If anything, they'll move back, but I think they're going to get an impact edge rusher at the end of the first round.